Futures Radio Show, sponsored by CME Group, the world's leading and most diverse futures and options exchange. CME Group's markets help individuals and businesses around the world effectively manage risk. For access to free educational tools and resources for the active individual trader, please visit activetrader.cmegroup.com.
Every day, traders and investors dive in to tackle the ever-changing markets to find opportunity. Futures Radio Show is your number one source for answers to the questions that all market participants want to ask. Veteran futures trader Anthony Crudele sits down with the most influential leaders and top traders in the industry. Now, here's your host, Anthony Crudele.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in for this episode with Saeed Zaman. Remember, new shows are posted on Mondays and Thursdays. You can subscribe to the show on iTunes and YouTube. If you're enjoying the show, please leave a review on iTunes. Before I play today's interview for you, I want to give a shout out to the great sponsors of Futures Radio Show. CME Group, Trading Technologies, FTSE Russell, RJO Futures, and Top Step Trader. To learn more about these sponsors and the important things they are doing for futures traders, be sure to click on their logos on our website. Today I spoke with trader Saeed Zaman. Saeed tells us how and why he got to start in trading, how he found a style and strategy that fit his personality. He shares the details of his strategy and how he executes his trades. Last but not least, we talked about poker and what Saeed is doing when he's away from the charts to increase his trading performance. So without further ado, let me take you right to the interview with Saeed. Saeed, how'd you get involved in trading FX and futures?
So what happened was, it was while I was at university. So I was studying mathematics at university, and I used to do a lot of my computer work that I had to do in actually the law department, because the maths department, the computers were really slow. And I seen this guy, and he had charts and stuff up. I go, hang on a minute, what's he doing looking at charts? And then started talking to him, and he was trading stocks just on the side, because his dad was in it, and he was just doing a bit on the side. So I sort of got it through that, and he gave me, says if you want to learn, which everybody I think starts babypips.com, just to get the exposure, how to start. So from there it just started. And once I dabbled into it, it sort of made a lot of sense. I really liked it. Not to say it made a lot of sense, that's silly, but it sort of got my attention. It's yeah, I think I could do that. And I was always I used to play poker quite a bit, so I like to gamble a bit. But yeah, that's how I got started. So that's my first exposure, and then from there, you meet people on forums, and and then Twitter came about, and then from there it just opens a whole world to you. So yeah, that was my starting point.
In all the shows I've done, very few people ever say that that the reason they got into trading was from college, from university.
So initially it started off, I did medicine first. So I studied medicine for a year, and I found it boring, and then I dropped out of that. I just literally hated it. I'm a bit dyslexic as well, and I hate reading and I hate writing, and I just did it because my parents wanted me to do it. So I dropped out of that, but maths I always found easy. So I thought, let me do a degree that's decent, but at the same time, I think I'm going to find easy. So in school and college, maths is obviously it is easy, but university is a whole different ball game, where it's not just about having the right answer. It's about getting to the answer. That's what they want to look for. So it wasn't too bad, but yeah, studied mathematics at university.
And you mentioned that you were looking at somebody else, I'm assuming another student, looking at charts of stocks. Did you start trading stocks first, or how did you eventually get involved in FX and futures?
Oh no, it was just so he just he was trading stocks, but when you went to baby pips, it was just when you're learning, I think they just go through FX. And since then I just stuck to FX. All the learning concepts was based around FX pairs and stuff. So yeah, I just been in FX since.
Having a mathematics background, I'm curious how you went about developing your strategy. Talk to us about that.
Well, my strategy, I think with a mathematics background, I'm not sure how much the actual degree helps but I think it's the way you think. I think it's the way you think and you break down stuff mentally. Maybe that played a role in it. I've got OCD naturally, so I'm like, I have to solve this, and if I can't solve, I'm gonna find a way to solve it. So I'm
Yeah.
like that. And every little thing gets to me, so I have to work around it. And the bigger the problem, like a lot of people say, "Oh, I can't be bothered," but like whenever I have a problem, I want to do it. I know it sounds a bit geeky and stuff, but I have to get to the bottom of it. And I'm the type that I don't listen to like, oh, this you should do it this way or that way. I've always been the type, no, I'm gonna do it my way, because whoever tells me something, yeah, I'll get a blueprint off them. But at the end of the day, it's down to you. Maybe that style suits them, but my style is different. So I've got to come up with something that suits my own style.
All right, well, let's dig in a little bit into your trading process, your trading strategy, technical, fundamental, both. How does that all work?
Well, I'm mainly technical, really. I know that I'm not good at fundamentals. So I just go to people. Like I've got a few friends that I talk to and guys that know what they're saying about fundamentals. So I say, you know what? There's no point going to something I don't understand. Let them do the hard work for me when it comes to fundamentals. But at the same time, because I'm not that much of a long-term trader, I'd say swing trading mainly. And at that point, does fundamentals really matter if it's that short-term? So yeah, I'm mainly short-term. And if I speak to a few guys, and if they've got a fundamental outlook on something that supports my view, then happy days. But if it doesn't, I'll probably still take the trade anyway. And the reason for that is just it's worked historically. So I wouldn't say I use classical patterns, technicals that people whenever someone says what's technicals, there's immediately head and shoulders, channels, this, that, the other. I think they do have a place, but again, it comes down to knowing when to use them and when not to use them. So for me, a lot of my trading is based on overall context. What is market trying to tell me? So I always try to break it down from the higher time frame downwards, because I always want to be in sync with what the higher time frame is telling me. So that's how I usually do it, and I try to understand. Okay, I try to interpret what's the storyline behind it, and once I can figure it out, okay, what do I that's my starting point, and then I break it down further as to what do I need to see to enter. And usually when I trade, I always work backwards. I say, okay, if I've got a long view on this, where am I wrong? So I find a lot of people, they're really obsessed with precision entries, right? But with me, like, I'm not too bothered about the entry as long as it's decent risk to reward. I just want to figure out where am I wrong on the idea. And as soon as I've found my invalidation, then I take it from there. So the closer it is to my invalidation, the better the entry. And then I just take it from there step by step. What do I need to see for trigger, etc., etc.
All right, we're going to dig a little bit deeper into it. But first question I have for you is, what markets are you primarily focused on these days?
It's mainly FX, but you know what? This year, the ES has been a dream for me. I know it's been trending a lot, but like my strategy has been working so well with the SPX or ES, whatever you want to call it. Um, so I'm 90%, I'd say FX, but whenever I see like a swing trade opportunity on the SPX, I always keep an eye on that. Out of all the indices, I find that resonates with me the most. I understand that price action better. Like a lot of people say, well, why not trade Dow? But whenever I trade Dow, I don't have much of a high strike rate with it. But when I see SPX, it's just, I don't know what it is about that market. It's just so clear to me.
Okay, so you're a swing trader that is primarily technically based. Now, I know swing traders, they could hold trades for, a day or two to multiple weeks. On average, what is your hold time for your trades?
It does vary. I think it depends on how volatile the market is. I mean, if it's really, really low volatility, I mean, a 20 pip move can be considered swing trade, for example, on a certain pair. But like usually 1 or 2 days.
1 or 2 days.
Yeah, 1 or 2 days.
And let's talk about specifically what type of technicals do you use? What are your favorites?
My main focus is ranges. I like to see where am I in a range. For example, on a monthly chart, you can see a daily range. From a daily chart, you can see an hourly range. So I always try to identify where am I within the range. Okay, try to keep it as simple as possible. So, and then I break that range down to a lot of detail. For example, finding the mean of the range, and if it breaks out of a range, how do I enter? So support and resistance, but it's probably heavily focused on ranges. And I know ranges goes into one guy's range may be completely different to what you interpret as a range. But yeah, ranges really, because they really usually tell me where I'm at. So for example, say if I'm on a weekly chart and I identify a range, if we're at the extreme, of the range. Probability wise, it can come down to at least the mean of that higher time frame range. Well, that gives me my higher time frame bias. So within that, I start breaking it down to the daily range, then the 4-hour range, and then keep breaking it down. And if it confirms on the lower, when I say lower time frame, 4-hour H1, then I enter. So it's mainly down to ranges really, and trading ranges.
What is the longest time frame chart that you look at?
I do start off with the yearly chart. So, and I only use that where are we within the year. So it's just a habit of mine. So whenever I break down a market top down, I go to the yearly chart. Where are we? So each candlestick is a year, and then I'll go to the 6-month chart, and then a quarterly. I love using the quarterly charts, and then monthly, weekly, daily after that. So I mean, yearly, 6-month, 3-month, only look at it one-offs, because once you've got them, they ain't gonna change that quick. But monthly, weekly, daily, I always want to see where are we within the monthly. And if we're above the open, and for example, in a bullish case, I'm looking to play the expansion of a monthly candle. So that gives me an idea that if we've done the priced in a wick, for example, on a monthly, then I'm looking to ride the body. So that increased the probability of my long idea because we're above the open, and then similar to the weekly.
And the shortest term, I think I heard you say, was the 4-hour chart. That's as low as you go.
I mean, no, I do go in lower. I mean, if I'm day trading, so usually if I'm like got my swing trades going, and I've got a particular bias and I've reduced my risk, then I'll start day trading. So I do day trade as well, along with my swing trades. So for entries, I can go down to the 5-minute, 15-minute. So, I mean, I do go to the lower time. Depends if I'm day trading or swing trading. I am probably about 70% swing trading, and then I day trade as well.
Do you use any indicators?
No, I don't really use indicators. Like, you mean like RSI and stuff? I don't use any of that.
None of those?
No.
You mentioned to me that you need to have confirmation. Confirmation is very important to you. Explain that.
So for example's sake, I can have a trade idea. I'll give an example of a trade idea. I'll trade I'm in now. For example, the SPX. I'm actually in a trade today, and I was looking for longs. Okay, so I've got my level marked out. I said, okay, that's a key level. Okay, now a lot of people say, well, this is a thing, whenever you see it, especially on social media, where they say, okay, buy support, sell resistance. Well, what does that mean? Do I buy as soon as it touches the support level? Do I wait for a bullish candlestick to enter? Where do I enter? Because when you draw a support resistance, it's not always perfect breakout, perfect retest. So that was my issue. Like every time I've done this before, like in the past when I was developing, it doesn't work like that. So okay, there's my problem now. I need to solve this. So this is where the confirmation come in and ranges comes in, where I say, okay, I never, or 99% of the time, I'll never use a limit order. That's my weakness. I can't trade like that. I mean, the only way I could do it is, okay, if I've got a clear invalidation level, but that means I really need a wider stop. And then when my OCD kicks in, I don't feel it doesn't sit right with me. So I wait for a price to come to a level, and then I'll say, okay, what do I need to see to increase the probability of my idea? So that's where the confirmation comes in. So I'd mark out a plan. So whenever you see me post a chart, I see those lines there. That is my plan. If it follows that plan, that means the probability of my idea is high. If it doesn't follow that plan and smashes through the level, I leave it alone. So I always have a plan. What do I need to see when price comes to a level? If it follows that, then I enter, because it's not guaranteed to work, but the probability of that idea increases because it's following my plan. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. What I find really interesting about talking to you is that you really know yourself very well, and you're sticking to your strengths. You have a strategy built around your strengths.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to figure out a strategy that fit your personality and then become profitable?
Do you know what? If you asked me this a year ago, I would have said, yeah, it does. And then a year later, I'd say, I find that every year, or as time goes by, you're always improving. What I knew then, is nothing compared to what I know now. And I'll probably say the same in a year's time. So for me, like, for example, we all need a starting point to learn, okay? We always need some sort of, whether that's through a book or whether that's through some sort of mentor or some sort of course. I don't believe you will trade exactly like that person, because everybody's different. But what you do is you take a blueprint. For example's sake, in school, right, you have a teacher, I say maths teacher. Now, that guy is telling everybody the same, but not everybody's going to pass. And not everybody, is going to fail. So some people are going to get A's, some people are going to get B's, some people are going to fail. But it's down to how you interpret. Okay, I've got the blueprint of the teacher now, but comes down to me. What do I need to see, or what do I need to do to push or make it a success. So everybody interprets it differently. So the way I've learned, I have had many mentors, and I've taken what I like from it and what makes sense to me, and whatever doesn't, I leave it alone. Now, if you find, especially in trading, when people are learning, they try to replicate exactly how they do things. I believe it doesn't work like that. I think it's important to take, okay, the basic blueprint just to give you a starting, a footing, and then once you do that, then you start gaining, an understanding of how the market works, and so et cetera, et cetera. Then you break down, okay, I like this from this particular guy, that particular guy, and then you bring it together. Now that's easier said than done, and it just comes with years of practice. It'd be, like you said when we discussed earlier, it took you about a couple of years to come to the level, where you're at. But yeah, just take what resonates with you. Don't try. I found not try to force something, or just because he's doing it, like I have to do it like that. No. Like, for example, one of my mentors used to leave limit orders. That never sat comfortable with me. So I said, okay, how do I overcome that? I know the breakdown he does, that makes sense to me. And then I use that. And then the rest, I'll just, you got to come up with it yourself.
Yeah, I mean, when you and I were talking before we were recording, I was talking about how it took me a few years to finally figure out a strategy I liked. And then from that point, I started working on me because once I knew that I had a strategy that I liked and I felt that it fit my personality, then it really came down to me executing it. And I love how you basically said something I completely agree with is no two traders are the same.
Yeah.
You could sit next to somebody and watch them trade. I've seen this happen because I was in the pit, and you could do the same thing they do and lose money while they make money, and it just blows you away. You're like, how's this possible? Well, because if it doesn't resonate with you, then you're just going to lose. I mean, that's just the way it comes down to it. You have to find a trading strategy that fits your personality. I want to go back to something that you said earlier. You said that you really like poker. I'm curious, how much of poker do you compare to trading?
See, there's certain aspects of poker. For example, okay, obviously you gotta be a good risk manager. You gotta know how much to risk, but knowing when to fold, right? So, for example, say you have a strategy, right? It's not gonna work all the time. There's certain times where the probability of using your strategy is high. So there's one thing having a strategy, then there's another thing implementing it. When do I use that strategy and when do I step back? And I think that's where everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people, seem to miss out. They try to use that every single day, all the time. So, for example, I don't know. Let's take I know guys that use moving averages. Some people laugh at moving average, others make a killing off of it. So this more, I'll give you my mate's example. He knows when to use that moving average. I think that's the key, knowing when to use your strategy. So coming back to poker, when I know, okay, things aren't going my way, okay, cut it off or don't, continue. Similar with trading, knowing when to use your strategy. So when you know when to use it, I think that's really, really important, because that's when, you start making money. But when you're starting to fit it all the time, and then comes the point where you'll start finding anything to fit your narrative. I think that's so key. It's like some people, sometimes you can marry an idea so much that you'll convince yourself, yeah, my strategy is here, but really it's not. So that's when it comes down to, working on your mindset. And it's taken me a couple of years to understand the importance of working on yourself and your mindset.
So that's what you believe your edge is, knowing when to pull the trigger on setups that you see.
Yeah, I mean, I get it wrong loads of times, but still, as long as I'm right more than I'm wrong. And, one thing I like to do is I'm quick at cutting my losers. So when things aren't going right, that's it, I'm out. Like, I'll have a long bias, but 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, especially when I'm day trading, I completely switch my bias. I say, okay, that's fine. Whereas before, I struggled with that, and even though things were not going my way, I'd marry the bias. I'd say, no. But if I look at it like this, and if I draw a level there, I'll try to fit anything to, fit my narrative. But really, you just gotta accept. You know what? Become like a robot. Say, okay, I'm wrong. Cut it. Next trade. Because okay, that's fine. There's always the next trade. Then you don't have that fear of a loss. Whereas when you're in that trade, you're always hoping for that 100% strike rate all the time. It has to go my way, and then that. For example, in my earlier days, what I used to keep adding more. Whereas really, just accept, okay, you're wrong, that's fine. And if things clear up again, I can always get back in. It's not just this is the only trade I'm going to take. You got to make a career out of it, and you got to make a career out of it. Know when you're wrong, accept it, cut, step back in later.
What are you doing away from the charts to help you with your trading performance?
I'm still struggling with that because I'm quite a bit of a addict to this. Literally, I'm on my charts literally like 14 to 16 hours a day, even now. But I mean, I think I'm getting more of a grasp. I don't think I'll be perfect at it because I'm just, it's just my nature. But I just do think that I do think to completely switch off. For example, one thing I've really taken up recently is horse riding. I really love that. I find it so soothing. Um, Anything that will will be enough of a distraction um to switch my mind off. So gym really helps. So I'm regularly going gym now, whereas before I had surgery, so I couldn't. But I'm regularly going gym, and I found that that mentally helps me. My actual motivation for gym was actually feeling better mentally and improving my trading. I wasn't even doing it for like being healthy or anything. It's just, but if that was enough of a motivation, then the side effect of that was losing weight, you know, building muscle, whatever. But whenever I find that I work out first thing in the morning, my trading on my head is a lot more clearer. So if I'm going into the market with a cloggy head, then I'm not going to perform well. So my motivation now, I'm only going to the gym to trade better. That is actually my motivation. Now people may argue, yeah, well, that's not right. But it doesn't matter. I'm trading. You're not trading for me. So if that's what it takes, then I'll do whatever it takes to improve my trading. So if that means cutting off at X certain period of time, then that's what I'll do. And my motivation is to be a better trader. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I do. So it's, I mean, I don't have that much like, I just, yeah. So I do like horse riding, or I love go karting or racing cars. But like, yeah, just to switch my mind off
Yeah,
the
you're
markets.
unplugging. You're finding balance.
Yeah, it's like a lot of people say you should do this, should do that. Well, what you should do, that's for you. That's not for me. So I'll do. Okay, well, this is what works for me. Just because you doing one thing works for you doesn't mean it's gonna work for me. I think you gotta understand yourself. I think once you understand yourself and you accept, okay, this is the person I am. This is what it takes for me to do this. Instead of like letting people influence you too much and just thinking for yourself basically and thinking logically about things.
Hey, everybody, I want to take a moment to thank one of our sponsors, FTSE Russell. They are a leading global provider of benchmarks, analytics, and data solutions. The Russell 2000 Index is a key benchmark for small cap U.S. stocks. Be sure to check out the E-mini Russell 2000 Index Futures, contract symbol RTY. For more information on FTSE Russell and their products, please visit FTSERussell.com. I agree with you, but I think that's the hardest thing for new traders to understand. You've been at this for a while. You're on the right path. What's a piece of advice you could give traders to start getting on the right path?
Do you know what? From my experience, right, 99% will listen. Not they'll only learn, or people only learn, and I'm talking about myself. I only learned once I made my own mistakes. I could tell everybody, you should, this is the mistakes I made and you shouldn't do this. It goes in one ear, comes out the other, until they've internalized it by experiencing the losses and what they're doing isn't working for them. Now for some people it takes years. For some people they're quick at grasping it. Say, okay, make the change quick. So okay, I would give advice, and the advice would be, be very picky with your setups. It's okay, to miss a setup, stuff like that. Those are just general, stuff that anybody can tell you. But my experience is, okay, make the mistake. And I don't think we'll ever stop making mistakes, but I think with experience we make less of them, and the impact it has on our trading accounts is, it's less adverse. So yeah, I personally just say make your mistakes, and that's the only way people learn. And at the end of the day, right, everybody wants to be a trader, but not everybody can. I mean, the success rate is really low. But I think you have to, and it'll make, you have to be completely, like, for me anyway, I had to be obsessed while I was developing to come to the level I'm at now. Whereas some people just can do it quick. So, and the only way I learned was from my mistakes. And if somebody had told me you should do this, that, I wasn't really listening to them. I'd say, yeah, I had to respect, but I wasn't really going to listen. I was still going to do my own thing. And you'll find many days people are still doing the same thing, but not progressing because, one, they're probably stubborn, and two, they just some people are just not willing to learn unless they make their own mistakes and realize for themselves, okay, now I'm going wrong. And once you accept that, okay, I need to change, that's when you'll only change, and that's when I think all the doors open. But like standard advice I would just give would be just be really patient. Patience, I think, and discipline is probably the biggest thing. Because once you've got your strategy. There's only so much you can really do in the markets when it comes to now executing a trade. But the discipline and patience are waiting for it and waiting for it. I think that's a big battle in itself. As much as there'll be days where I've got no trade, and then you start, ideas start coming to your head. I should do this. Oh, it's okay. I'll take a small one. But that, slowly can turn out to be a big problem. Whereas if you've been trading for a while, so you know what, I know what I'm doing, and that's only proven to you or internalized with your performance. I've made a success out of it a couple of years, so I definitely know what I'm doing. So all I need to do is just stick to it. The trade opportunity will come one way or another. It'll eventually come. So what does that do? That you're not going to blow your account, and that's it.
It's so true, isn't it? I look back at my career, and I was surrounded by people making millions of dollars, but yet I'm losing money all the time. And for years it was going by, and I'm going, it was making me insane. But the pain that I went through and the feelings that I felt throughout the beginning part of my career, I still carry them with me because I don't want to go back to feeling that way. And like you said, you have to be obsessed with this. I was obsessed with it. I spent thousands upon thousands of hours looking at charts, figuring out what would fit me. And then when you finally get there, then you've got to work on yourself.
That's it. That's
it's amazing, right? It's like this journey. And like you said, I mean, I'm 20 plus years into this now, and I'm still working on myself all the time because we lean on ourselves.
Especially with trading, where you got a normal job, right? You make a mistake, okay, the boss lets you, okay, you made a mistake. Whereas in trading, you make a mistake, market don't know you'll get punished for it straight away. So it's a ruthless game, and it's not a game or a business where you can take a rest or take a break. You have to always be on point. So the moment you start slacking or whatever, that's when you're just going to get screwed over. So you have to always be on point. And I think the strategy part is the easy part. Is that once you're trading is, day by day, you battling with yourself. When do I step in? When do I not step in? So many times, like today, twice, there's a trade idea. For example's sake, past couple of weeks, I was so bullish sterling, right? And I had to fight myself off not to enter the long because it wasn't lining up. And then I was reaching a point where I was trying to talk myself into the trade idea. But what reminds me, what was funny, what you said was the pain you felt was, when you're trading a significant size account. For me, if I'm losing, 10,000 in a trade or 5,000 trade, that hurts. So if I'm doing it, okay, if I take a loss and I follow my plan, that's fine. It's a loss. But if I'm making those mistakes because of stupid reasons and I'm losing money, like just throwing it away, that's what that's what's frustrating. So as bullish as I was the sterling, all my longs that I did take, they either took a loss or I had to cut it quick. And that was me trying to marry a bullish bias. But then I accepted the fact, okay, I'm wrong. I switched off from the sterling and I just moved to something else. So this is where my plan helps me, where if it's not following my plan, I'm not going to take it. And whereas before, I would probably take every trade, whereas now I'm really picky now. I see which I take. For example, in this week, Cadian has been the only trade in FX I've taken, and that's since Monday. Well, it's only Tuesday now. And then the SPX, I did take a little scalp in the earlier on in the euro, but I cut that. But Cadian, SPX, and gold. Whereas normally I'm taking so many, but it's just waiting and waiting and waiting. But you'll only develop that patience when you do that for 6 months to a year, and you see, okay, I've built my account up to so much. It obviously works. Whereas I don't think if you've experienced that, you'll still end up doing silly things. And looking back at my performance, that's what I think helps me be patient.
Great stuff, Saeed, but we're not done yet. I have some rapid fire questions next if you're ready for those.
Fire away.
All right, everybody. Our rapid fire segment is sponsored by Trading Technologies. Access the global markets from virtually anywhere with TT. They are the world's fastest commercially available futures trading platform. And now you can trade cryptocurrency spot and derivative markets side by side. For more information, please visit tradingtechnologies.com. Saeed, first question for you. What traders influenced your life the most and why?
Um, what trader influenced my trade the most? I've had a few mentors, right? But one that really stands out is probably Tom Dante. And it wasn't so much his strategy. It was, when I used to sit in his library, the patience he showed. And I think at the time I didn't realize it. It's only later on, a couple of years later on, that really resonated with me, picking the best setups. He was really picky with the setups he took. And aside from that, there's one more. Is just, it's not. I don't think it's trading related. It's more mindset related. But Ray Dalio and reading his book Principles. Like, I think whenever you read a quote, I'm not really into motivational quotes. I think that's a lot of crap because you're gonna make your own lifestyle. You follow your own rules. But there's certain things he said where that resonates with me. For example, one was embrace reality and deal with it. And it sounds simple, but like for me that means no way you're messing up. Accept the fact that these are your flaws. So when you're able to admit to your flaws, only then can you really progress. And that's helped me a lot with my trading. So yeah, probably them two.
What was one of the hardest things for you to overcome in trading?
What was one of the hardest things? The fear of missing out on trades and not being where I want to be. I set myself, in 3 months I need to be here. Fear of missing out and just over trading was one of the hardest parts. And battling, like when I took a loss, like I would always mess it up again by taking a bigger loss and a bigger loss. And whereas if I just step back and say, okay, it's calm down, wait till the next setup comes, which it will come. And often it comes quite soon. But the damage I've done to my account till the best setup comes up is sometimes it's irreversible. Or the drawdown, it takes me ages to get out of. So yeah, probably missing out on trades and just doing silly things like that.
How has your trading process evolved over the years?
I think I've just become more relaxed. Whereas with my trade ideas, I let the trade come to me. Like if I'm looking at the market, unless it's crystal clear, I won't really go full risk in it. So I let the trade come to me instead of like, okay, chasing an idea. Like before I'd open a chart and say, okay, I have to take a trade, and I'll just looking at that one time frame, looking at the chart and just forcing a trade that's not there. Whereas, okay, when XYZ lines up, now I'll do it. So I'm much more relaxed. I used to use really tight stops before because I wanted the big risk reward. Now I'm so relaxed. Like I use really wide stops now, and the way that's helped me in the sense where it enables me to think. It like gives me time to think. It allows me to, okay, if things are not going well, either cut it or scale out. And when I'm able to think clearly and think in a more relaxed way, not panic. So I'm doing whatever it takes to not panic in the market. If that means using a wider stop, then so be it. And that has evolved my trading now. So I'm very picky with my trades now, whereas before I wasn't.
What is one attribute that you believe every trader should have?
Well, for me, I'll speak from personal experience, especially in trading. You have to, I think, for me, if I hadn't made it an obsession, I wouldn't be where I am right now. I don't think I'd make it in trading. It's not one of those things where I'll put 15 minutes a day into it. Even now, I trade full time. I'm still at the charts all day, but constantly working on my edge, constantly, where am I going wrong, going over, sometimes, volatility changes and, certain things I noticed working before aren't working now. So I think you just always got to be on the board and never take your foot off the gas.
Favorite book about trading?
You know what? I don't really read, to be honest with you, but I say Principles, even though it's not really trading related. But I listen to a bit of audiobooks, probably like Market Wizards. I just like the stories behind them. That's it.
Favorite movie about trading?
What's that one called again? The one with the Brad Pitt in there.
Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
I can't even remember a movie he was in.
Shit, because I had the answer, so I just forgotten. It's more of a comedy. It's based on that. Is it 2008, 2009 crash?
Oh, The Big Short.
Yeah, that's it. The Big Short. I like that movie. Not for the trading, I just find it entertaining. Yeah, I like that.
What's the best piece of advice that you received about trading?
The best piece of advice I received about trading, never to execute unless your mind is clear.
If you could go back in time and give the younger you a piece of advice, what would it be?
just be patient, disciplined, work on your mindset first and foremost. People underestimate how important it is to work on yourself outside of the market. You'll find often, when you're a calm person, being calm all the time, I find, or in all aspects of my life, where if you're calm, I think that normally attracts people around you as well. Being calm and never thinking a problem is too big. So because often especially when I was learning, I was like, oh, I'm not getting this. Whereas if I just stayed calm, you're likely to think clearer. You're more likely to solve that problem. So always stay calm. I'd say all times. What's the worst that can happen? The way I think of it. Okay, we die. What's the worst? That's it. But just staying calm at all times, no matter how big the problem is. Stay calm and relaxed.
If you had an elevator pitch me your edge in trading, what would you say?
Just always try trade in the direction of the higher time frame. Never try fight the trend.
Last question for today. Favorite thing to do when you're not trading?
Horse riding.
Saeed, where can people find you on Twitter, and give us a website to check out?
My Twitter handle is at trader1sz, and my website is tradersz.com.
Saeed, this was fantastic, man. Thank you so much for joining me on Futures Radio Show today.
Oh, thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to Futures Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments for myself or my guests, please visit futuresradioshow.com and sign up to be a premium member for free. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review on iTunes.